Welcome back to the second episode with Peter. In the first episode, we had some stories about power losses, power awakening, just as usual, but with the perspective of Peter. We had very good examples about self-development and how we should manage our life to be happy, what self-development is. So I recommend to watch the first one before you watch this one, but you can do the opposite too, fine. So Peter, let's see, comfort zone.
Comfort zone.
Why do you think it's important to leave this comfort zone? What tools did you find that you also use sometimes to get out of it, and what you get out of this once you leave the comfort zone?
Cocaine. No, I'm kidding. I feel like okay. So in 2013, I got assaulted on the street. It was 3 guys crushing beer bottles in my head, and that kind of forced me. Yeah, I got a Carlsberg bottle here. Shout out to Carlsberg, your bottles are easily broken. And another bottle here and a wine bottle in my forehead. So if you guys are watching, if you did this, thank you. It was the best day of my life. And it really was, because it forced me to open up. It forced me to begin thinking differently about my life. And it led me onto the journey that I am today. Because I by experiencing that trauma, it felt like my life kind of stopped. And everybody else's life still went on. The people who cared about me, they still had to go to work. They had to go to school. They had to take care of other people. And I was sitting there like, I've experienced the worst trauma in my life ever. But I thought I was a more vital part of the universe. Am I not? And to a certain point, I am. But people are. So I begin looking at people as tiny universes where we sometimes collide and we sometimes interact, and sometimes there's an asteroid from your universe coming over to my universe and we're having fun. But in the end, I am my own universe, because that it led me into the whole journey of becoming a mental coach, because I got so curious about what does this mean. I thought we were like, I thought our interactions were going to be deeper and better, but no, people are people, and they're doing their thing, which I'm really grateful for having learned. Because when I then a few years later began meditating, I found the meditation technique called transcendental meditation that has been life-changing. It has been one of the most important tools I have ever encountered, because it has allowed me to experience states of unboundedness, states of higher consciousness, and it has allowed me to perceive my own comfort zone and everything from different perspectives that I wasn't even aware of. And the guy who brought transcendental meditation to the Western world, his name is Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. He said that in life there are unboundedness and boundedness. And boundedness is like the comfort zone, or it's the self-identity of this is me. And whereas the unboundedness, we're also a part of that. That is everything else. That is when you sometimes can get a glimpse of experiencing you from outside of yourself, and you can spontaneously learn new things. And this is the unboundedness. That's like the whole body of consciousness, or the entire body of God, if you want, because that's taken me into this quite exciting journey of trying to figure out what human beings are. You have questions? Or should I just boom?
I'm curious of this trauma,
Yeah.
about this thing, just to make people understand, like what was the process.
Yeah.
You got hurt,
Yes.
and then you had a time out for yourself to think
Yes.
about life.
Yeah, I got hurt, and then I could feel the fear of being outside. I could feel it coming in. So I sat down and I said to myself, okay, now I'm either gonna develop social anxiety because I can feel it coming, or I got to do something about it. And I decided to do a 2-week vacation in Scotland, a new place for me. I decided to travel alone, and I think that gave me like the immediate push to learn that there isn't anything dangerous in my environment. What happened to me was a one-off thing, and it's happened once in my 37 years old, and it has never happened again either. So there's no reason, no logical reason for me to be afraid of that for the rest of my life. But I could feel that fear coming, because that assault, it like it harmed my ego and my ego self. Like it created this, like, how can this happen to me? Why blah 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 blah. And it wasn't until I began investigating the positive intention behind their actions, and I realized that their actions had nothing to do with me. They just, people do what they do, and sometimes you are on the receiving end of what people do. It doesn't need to be deeper than that. And that really helped me to put it into perspective. And then just going to Scotland after to face that fear. Because if I hadn't, that fear would have taken control. And instead, I took control.
It just reminds me of the previous episode when you said that which learning perspective, that's what you used. I used to say task perspective, learning perspective, because if we stuck in the suffering perspective, then you go into the trauma, the social anxiety, and all these things that just pulls you down. That's the suffering perspective. And what you did is the perfect example. See it from task perspective, like how to deal with it. And also I know, like, if I don't do something, I will go into the dark and losing the power. And why I like to do martial arts is just to get ready. I don't do that to hurt people or whatever. I just like to be ready. When we do the Muay Thai, I like to see, like, okay, how can I get ready for the action, and then how can I succeed to lead, to have some punches and stuff, and then I walk out relaxed. Like, I know it doesn't matter how many years, what I do, whatever, because the circumstances will be, different. So at least I will be comfortable when there is an action. So why I mentioned this is not just it's connecting to your topic, but it's the same like the inner work. If I'm reactive and not doing preventive actions, then it sucks, because once we are in a conflict at work or conflict in relationship and we cannot solve it or deal with it good, then it will be suffering, because I cannot do anything with this situation. I don't know what to do. I ignore it. I go and drink in the pub or do drugs or whatever. What is the escape of the people? But once we do the inner work, we go to workshops, we go to seminars, we get some new education in mindfulness or whatever that gives us some tools, then maybe, and most likely, I will have some good tools to reach out when I have this conflict at work, when I have this conflict at relationship. So it's not just physically important to do the preventive things, but also emotionally. I just wanted to connect these two together.
Yeah, absolutely. Like when I have new clients, they sometimes tell me, "Oh, I should probably have gone here sooner," or "Now I've tried everything else. Might as well try some coaching." And I'm like, "Well, why do you charge your phone when the battery is empty? Why can't you just begin to charge your phone while there's still some battery left? Why do you have to be burnt out before you seek help? Can't you just go and learn new tools while you're still feeling good?" Because that's going to help you remain in that good state of mind. But a lot of people just run around in autopilot, and then they hit a wall, and they're like, "Oh, I think I might need to reevaluate my choices." Like, bro, you should have reevaluated your choices long ago, and then learned new strategies. But yeah, people can only do the things that they can do in the moment where they do it.
And some people have to hit the wall.
Yeah.
To start to do something.
They do.
And I'm a health and safety manager, so my work is basically to help people not to get hurt and do preventive actions, reading what I should do, remind each other what we should do outside when we work. Because once we get hurt, that's the worst, because then hospital and all kinds of these recreational things, we can learn a lot from it, but the best not to get there. And it's interesting that many people don't think about self-development, like this preventive action to do, because there is the pub, there is all kinds of Netflix programs to look at to distance away from problems.
Yeah.
And then they just be with the problems. At the weekend, they go somewhere to get drunk, reset, but then they get back to the same situation.
Or slightly worse.
Hello, here is Pt.2 speaking. If you want to participate on any of the workshops I organize in Oslo, please join us in the upcoming workshops, and the retreats will be published soon. Visit the website investednorway.com. So
Yeah.
That's why I do this podcast as well, for example, not just the workshops, because this information need to be around that's why it is on YouTube and Spotify. Like, it's more likely people will send it to those who need to see.
Yeah.
Because it's a wake-up call before anything happens. But at the end, it's always, if somebody don't want to go, they will have to hit the wall first.
Yeah, well, I think it comes down to the question we touched upon, like, what is a human being? At least for me, going into that philosophy of it has helped me tremendously. Because, just bear with me for a moment. When I read religious texts, it's like, we are created in God's image, and we're all a part of God. And I'm like, okay, how? How? And when the Vedic philosophy in transcendental meditation, they're like, there's an unbounded ocean of consciousness, and we are all a part of that consciousness. And I'm like, okay, how? So I have this image in my head that it came to me through meditation. But it's like this, it's like a person standing here with his eyes going this way, and behind him, it's this pulsating octagon of pure consciousness, pure bliss, pure love, pure God power, pure everything. And that consciousness is channeled through that person's head and into his eyes. That's the image. I always have that image with me. And what dawned on me a while back was that the more fit my body and my genetics are, the better, the more stress-free my nervous system is, the more of this consciousness energy I am able to take or take in or use. And it gets me thinking sometimes when I'm like reading the Bible or other scriptures, and it's like, you're a part of God's body, and I'm like, okay, what does that mean? Could it mean, and I'm not saying that it does, but could it mean that consciousness or God or creational power is this huge mass, and we are all connected to it, and the way people choose, voluntarily or involuntarily, automatic or non-automatic, the way people choose to live their life on Earth sets some kind of tone of how much of this power they are able to use. Because I remember back when I used to drink and I used to party, and I did exactly what you said. I reset myself on the weekends, and it's like I'm back to square one. So instead of building on every action and getting more and becoming more and feeling better, I live 5 days and I reset myself Friday night, and I feel shitty Saturday and maybe Sunday, and I go back and I do it all again. And that, after getting this different perspective on what a human being is, it was kind of like I felt like I am here. This is me. This is Peter, my identity. This is everything, all my beliefs and everything I do. And on top of that, I have something that is overarching me. I am a part of this beautiful creational power that I am able to tap into if I live my life a certain way. And that resonates with me. It might not resonate with everyone, but to me, that became like a recipe of getting out of my comfort zone more, losing weight. I've lost like 40 kilos the last 2 years. Still not done with my journey, and I never will be. But after this thing just clicked, it's like, yeah, getting out of my comfort zone, learning, being fit, that's the way to do it. Because if I don't, I'm just going to miss out on this beautiful ocean of consciousness, love, and creational power it's just there. But I am too stressed, and I am too fat or too unfit to actually be able to use this power. And that became my recipe of living. Like, I'm a part of this great thing called consciousness or God or whatever you want to call it. I'm a part of it. And I have genetics, and I have something people have forgotten that they have, because every single human being on planet Earth has this one thing, and that is the ability to create. We talked about it in the last episode, like we have the ability to create this prison, that we are our own gatekeeper of that prison, and we created it. There's like norms and things around us, and we're thinking, I might have to behave like this. And I'm like, who told you that? I'm not sure. My parents, I don't know. I was dropped on the head when I was a child. I don't know. And we're creating our own suffering with a lot of help, of course, a lot of help from our external world. But we have to learn how to think. And we have to learn how to think properly in terms of what we want to achieve, which is create happiness, create abundance, create love, create passion. This is what we're on this planet to do. And it's right there. All we got to do is just begin to ask the right questions. What can I do more of that helps me in this direction? And what can I begin to do less of that resets me and starts over again? Because that, you put that beautifully. Like, we live our life, and then we reset, and we're back to stage one. And finding out a different perspective of what a human being is, I think that will help people tremendously. If people begin to think of themselves as I don't know, called light bringers, maybe call it that if you want to, instead of thinking about themselves like, yeah, I'm a 40-year-old something, and I'm blah 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 blah. I'm this. I work blah blah. You can be so much more. But where are the evidence? You won't find the evidence that you are so much more out here. You'll find it inside of you, if you begin to listen to what is actually there. I went off on a ram again. I love this because I'm super passionate about these things.
It was very good to hear you, because when I explain spirituality on one of the workshop or a few workshops, I use this light
Yeah.
that's coming through, and then like the rainbow, everybody have the different.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It just breaks this pure light to all kinds of colors. That's the human. And then basically what we need to do is find this pure light, find tools to get back to this source of energy, the universe, whatever we call it. And I studied different religions, books, and then I see the things that I don't agree, but I see similarities.
Yes.
And I see, yes, in every religion, there are things from the source.
Yes.
But then those who's interpret it and write it in the books and publish it and stuff, yeah, they went all around in certain topics that I just like, yeah, I understand people don't like this kind of religion or that kind of religion because it's bullshit, some part. But some is pure light, and you can find it in every religion.
Yeah.
So it's a very difficult topic. And basically what I heard from your story, you find the spiritual connection in life.
Yeah.
And this is very important as well. It was also a very strong drive for me to see the life from spiritual perspective, which means it's not just this body that I have and I live in this material world. Behind my eyes, there is the spirit in my body. The spirit that experience that I'm holding this pen, that I'm talking to you. And this spirit needs these experiences that you said. We need the experience to develop all this spiritual backpack with all the traumas and all the things that blocking us to be happy in this life if we stay inactive. But if we stay active, we can get happy and we can get done the checkpoints of our spirit, the things that we brought into this life. I came from the Buddhist perspective because I was actively practiced the Diamond Way Buddhism for 3.5-ish years. And during this journey, I had a very crazy spiritual experience with Lama Ola Nudal. He was the first Lama of the West. I couldn't imagine that I will see a conscious hallucination kind of thing when we had a lecture weekend in Sofia. I couldn't believe. I was reading in his books that he experienced this in Nepal. And when I was reading it as a newbie, I was like, he's seeing through seeing through the Lama, and he see the wall behind the Lama during meditation. And I was like, okay, next page. It was a very good book, but these things I just couldn't understand with my human. But once I experienced personally, then I was like, wow, that's something more than this body, as I see. So for me, that was a very strong trigger. And then I was just very passionate about practicing Buddhism, everyday meditation for hours if it's possible. And if I skip one day, I do double next day and all these things. So removing that's how I used to introduce myself on the workshops as well, that I was working psychologically and spirituality to remove the layers from myself to reach the essence, the core, the raw Peter, with removing all the things that I learned from others, that I learned from movies, that I learned from all the things that surrounded me during my growing up period. And then I got into my essence. And then I can see people different. I can be in situation different way. I can see from the outside perspective. And every information we need in life is in the present moment. But if you are not conscious, we miss the opportunity to see the information or hear it. So it's so beautiful to do this journey. If we go for the fears, go for all these uncomfortable things that we think uncomfortable, because then you don't know how much you can get out of it at the end.
Yes.
And hearing your story, it sounds really good that something turned you on, and something is a very strong drive in this life, just as I have. So I know it's really, really important. Own prison. And yeah, those who's ignoring seeing life spiritually, anyhow, they basically on their own prison on this human experience. And it can lead to see everything that happens with me as a suffering. Like somebody beat me up, somebody hurt me, I don't have my left leg, or whatever. If you live in this, that sucks. It's just struggle.
Yeah.
It's just suffering.
But but it's people don't know that they're limiting themselves, and so I don't think we can. To me, it's too easy to be like, yeah, people are doing this, and if you don't, but I agree. Like if you don't look at life from a more of a spiritual side, you're losing out on a lot of depth. But then again, people cannot do anything else than what they did at that exact moment where they did the action. So people aren't aware, and I think like podcasts like this where we talk about these things without sounding, I hope at least I'm not sounding too just be the conscious experience. I want to sound like all this mumbo jumbo thing. I hope that I come off as non-alternative and concrete as possible. But as you said, it's really difficult to imagine the beautiful experiences that we are talking about if you've never had them yourself. And I feel like we should begin to there's one question that I ask a lot of my clients, and that one question begins to open their mind. And I want to ask it here. Is that okay? I'm going to ask it to you guys. And that is one question. How certain are you about your own uncertainties? How certain are you that you really are uncertain? You know? Because people are so certain that they have certain beliefs, and they're even so certain about their uncertainty. And that is a paradox. And the moment people become curious of their own certainty or uncertainty, just become curious of who you are. I think that is the one thing that people can do more of. Become more curious. And with that curiosity comes the key to open up this prison cell.
Beautiful. That was a beautiful end word from you. And what I would just say, come to the workshops, come to the one-to-one sessions, go for improv dance and all the things around. I think that's one of the lessons learned from the conversation. Be open and experience life fully. And then what I noticed, it was one of my best experience during my psychological journey, to go to groups where people just talk about stuff, because then it makes me also move inside.
Yeah.
It makes me aware of myself, my thoughts. And if there is a facilitator, and go for a place where there's a facilitator who knows how to lead the group, you can also ask. But also if you hear anyone in the group who experienced in certain topics that related to yours, that you can reach out that person if it feels like, or just write in your little book and do your self-journaling at home. So thank you very much, Peter, for this episode as well. I think it was very useful for everyone. And see you in the next podcast. Yes.
Let's go.
Very nice.
I've never talked about this consciousness stuff before on podcast, but I love this.
Yeah, you said, you phrased it very good, because that's how it is.